Hey everyone, it's me again. This is part 2 of the gear hidden blade concept, which I will be prototyping in the future. I'm just getting the design out there at the moment. So there was a little bit of confusion with the last part that I posted of this video here. So I've modeled a little bit more, so hopefully I can explain it a little bit better, because a lot of people were thinking that it was going to need a motor in order to function, and a few other issues which I just want to clarify with this video here, so you guys can see a little bit more how this is actually all going to work. Some people were saying that the blade was going to be weak, all that kind of stuff. But in that video, I just made the blades hollow so that you could see actually what was happening in the mechanism, but I've filled it out a little bit more and made it look a little bit more to what it's actually going to look like with the final product. Okay, so essentially the only thing I haven't modeled yet is the bar and kind of the supports for everything. So I haven't done the supports for the gears on the inside, and I haven't done the supports for this gear around here, and I haven't done the exterior like casing piece as well, but I'm pretty sure there should be enough information for you guys to understand exactly what's happening with this thing and how it's going to function. So what we have is the same wheel that I use on all my hidden blades up to this point. So it's the Ra wheel that he did way back in the day. I've used this on all my hidden blades. Essentially what we're going to have up here in the front is where the string is going to attach, and then coming along behind this gear piece here, there'll be a little knot in the string that catches into these two pieces here. So if we just orientate this a little bit better, so you can see how there's a gap between these two pieces. So that's where the string goes. And what essentially happens is the knot in the string will get stuck between those two bits because it's thicker than the string. And it will come right around this wheel here and come out to where your hand will be here, and you'll have a ring on your finger. So what happens when you pull that string is it's going to rotate this wheel just like it does on the OTF hidden blade. Now what I've done, so when this rotates, is we're going to have a bar that connects this section of the wheel where this hole is. So it will be screwed in here, and it will attach to this hole here of this gear piece. So every time this rotates, it's going to push this back and forth like that. Okay, so that's what's going to happen when that bar is attached. So I haven't modeled that yet, but I will do that. So just as long as you understand that part of the concept, the string will rotate the wheel will push this gear back and forth due to the bar that is connecting the wheel to the gear, the straight gear piece here. Okay. Now, if you're struggling to understand kind of how that works, I'd suggest you go and watch my other video, the dual jointed hidden blades, which if you're familiar with that, I had the exact same thing on the top of that hidden blade. It was a wheel like this with a piece moving a gear stick back and forth. So it was exactly the same as what's going to be on top of this one. So go watch that video if you haven't, and you should be able to understand how that's going to create linear motion from circular motion back here. Okay, cool. So that is the top piece. That's what's essentially going to make this whole thing go. So then next up we have the gearbox on the inside. So if we remove the top case, here you can see what's actually going inside the hidden blade. So we have an array of gears. Now someone was nice enough to call me out when I was talking about the gear ratios in the last video. I said the wrong thing, which I knew I said, but I couldn't wait to upload the video. So what we have is 1:2 gear ratio between each gears. So explaining this correctly this time, 1 rotation of this gear will equal 2 rotations of this gear. 2 rotations of this gear is going to result in 4 rotations of this gear. 4 rotations going to result in 8 rotations of this one. 8 rotations will go to 16, and then 16 will go to 32 at the end of the system. So that means it's a 1:32 gear ratio. Okay, so we've got the wheel here. It's going to move this gear stick like this. So you see we don't need to move it very far in order to extend that blade. So it doesn't need to spin very fast. That's why the pin here is located so close to the center of the wheel. So if I zoom out a little bit, you can see this function. So you see we pull this in and pull that out. So that's how this whole thing's going to work. Okay, so if you're still having a bit of trouble understanding this, we'll go ahead and remove the medium, the middle piece here. So we'll remove that. All right, now we can kind of have a little bit of a better look as to what is going on here. If I get rid of this, I think it's one of these ones. There we go. Okay. All right, so you can see the blade is solid. It's only hollowed halfway through. So if we look on the other side here, you can see that the hollowed section only goes halfway through. I think it's 2 mils if I'm correct. Have a look there. Yeah, 2 mils. So you can see it doesn't go all the way through. Now, obviously, I could make this a lot thinner if I wanted to, but you know, I think this is more than adequate for this situation. Then on this gear here, we actually have a smaller 5-tooth gear on the inside that attaches to this one. So what's going to happen when we spin that is you can see it's going to rotate on the inside here. So if I zoom in a little bit, you can see that's going to push it out and it's going to bring it in just like that. Okay, so that's how this whole thing works. Now, the only thing I'm a little bit worried about with this design is essentially it being locked out in the front. So obviously the gears are going to hold it out in this position with the wheel here, but I want a secondary lock. There will be a lock in the wheel to stop the gears from spinning in the opposite direction, but well, we'll stop this wheel spinning in the reverse direction, sorry. But I want probably another kind of lock piece. So I'm probably going to sit something in here that will allow the blade to lock out, and then when this rotates, it will disengage it, just so that we have more kind of locking power of this blade, because I'm not comfortable that the teeth of those gears are going to be enough to hold that out if there's like a decent amount of stabbing force going into something. So yeah, I'm probably going to put a secondary lock there, and I'm also going to, let's see if I can explain this, make the end of this have a square bit that comes out the bottom of the blade, and that's going to run within a track on the inside of this thicker piece here. So that way, if you had things such as a hook blade, for example, it will be very, very sturdy, and it's not going to be pulled out of the mechanism. So it should be really, really strong. The other thing someone was addressing was the kind of the torque issues with this. So like, hopefully that's correct terminology for it, but essentially because it's such a crazy gear ratio of 1:32, people were saying that, well, someone was saying that if the blade is to push into a target that's in front of it, it's going to be pretty difficult because you lose that power through all the gears. So really, I wasn't intending on making this crazy strong, like it's going to bust through like a plank of wood when it comes out. But as long as it's strong enough to eject in water, that was my main goal. Because to me, a hidden blade that works in water should be able to hold enough resistance that it can be functional in more than one applications, unlike the OTF hidden blade. So what this means is really, as long as it's strong enough to push it out with that much resistance, it should be fine. We can chuck, Connor's dagger on here, we can chuck the hook blade on here, and it doesn't really matter how heavy the blade is, the mechanism will still function, unlike the OTF. So that's kind of what I was going for. I didn't mean it was going to, bust through some quarter-inch plywood or anything like that, but it will be strong enough to support heavier blade variations and function underwater, which was what the plan was. Okay, so hopefully that essentially makes sense how this works now. Hopefully no one thinks that this still needs a motor to function. We just got a string and a ring that's going to rotate this wheel. That wheel is going to push this gear stick up and down, and that will in turn push the blade in and out. And we just want to add in a secondary lock and a upper lock that will stop the blade from being pulled out as well. But yeah, I want to start getting this prototyped. I'll get the lid made, and then as soon as I've got this done, I will make another video on it, and you guys can see how it's going to function. But for now, I'm just perfecting the OTF hidden blade, which will be for sale soon. I will be releasing a video showing that and what you get if you order one of them. I'm really, really excited for that. I've put a lot of work into it. If you've been following me on Facebook, you can see that. And yeah, guys, if you enjoyed, please like, subscribe, share, and more content's coming soon. Awesome. See you guys.